An online student of mine believed that he was suffering with poor ball striking because he was getting the low point too far ahead of the golf ball, causing those thin golf shots where they go too low along the floor, no good. You could agree with this, however, he was completely wrong. In fact, he was doing the total opposite, where we were causing the low point to be too far behind the golf ball, where we saw this trail arm, this right arm of his extend as his lead arm flexes. And this is the main cause that we see students make online who suffer with that poor ball striking. We've got to get that working more passively and more forward and past the golf ball to improve the compression and overall shots. So before we actually look into improving the low point and therefore the ball striking, we had to look at what the cause was to getting this low point to be too far behind the golf ball in the first place. Well, we knew that my student, once he got to the very top of his swing, everything from the start of the golf swing all the way up to the top of the backswing was in excellent positions that we've been working hard on the last couple of months. And then once we get to the top of the swing, we've been working on a great downswing move that's going to allow him to create more power and speed, and he's been able to gain 10 miles an hour more clubhead speed on his driver, which is very impressive doing this. Now we've got to look into the consistency aspect. And what we've noticed is that as he's getting this movement into the ground, which is what I teach, if you'd like to learn more, there's a link over there, but look at that later on, where we get this squatting move into the downswing, as we begin to push back up, for him, rather than holding this angle and keeping the hands ahead of the club, lead arm staying nice and straight, we begin to push with the trail arm out and away. So as we're pushing back upwards and transitioning from this trail side to lead side in that downswing, what we were noticing was he was pushing the club to the ball, but in a way that was causing this right arm to straighten up. And as soon as we get this right arm to straighten up, it's very easy for that club head itself to overtake the hands. And when we get the club head from this angle here to overtake the hands, the low point shifts behind the golf ball. And the low point is the bottom of the swing arc. So the way to think of this is the swing working on a big circle. And when we get this big circle taking place in the backswing and downswing, we obviously want to be making solid contact with the golf ball. And that all depends on what club you're using, of course. So for an iron, we want the low point, this swing circle, to be shifted more forwards before we make contact with the golf ball to help us get that downward descending angle. But if we're doing this action, we're pushing that circle further away from us. So the low point's going to be here, about 4 or 5 inches realistically behind the golf ball. So if he just managed to avoid hitting the ground, he'd be hitting on that upward motion, and what's leading the race at the golf ball there? That leading edge, and that was what was causing those thin golf shots. And then obviously the duft, if he doesn't get quite up in time and extends upwards to try and stop that club from hitting the ground. If he doesn't quite do this, he's going to hit the ground first. So simply, we've just got to change the way the arms transition into that downswing. And how we do this is quite simple. Well, if we're going to push the hands out, get this trail arm to extend too much and then cause that lead arm to flex, we're going to push the swing arc too far away. We've already identified this. But what happens if we were to do the opposite? What happens if we were to get to the very top of our swing, feel like we're almost keeping the width in the downswing, but feeling like we're really pushing the hands further away from us on the way through, further away from the golf ball. So when I'm doing this action here, I'm just feeling like my hands are being pushed. I'm swinging up to the very top of my swing, and I'm pushing my hands down towards the ground here. That's a really good feel for this. And then I'm pushing them towards the golf ball, and I'm extending them through to finish. Just doing this with a golf club, swinging up to the top, swinging down, and pushing the hands and arms through towards the target is really going to allow you to push the circle ahead. Think about it. If we're really reaching for this net here and pushing the circle further forward, therefore getting the low point ahead of the golf ball. And look what happens here when I push the hands, and I push the hands intense, and it causes the hands to go ahead of the club, which is what we want. We want the hands to stay nice and ahead of the club face, de-lofting the club, and that's going to help improve the compression and overall ball striking. But a couple of students that have gone and give this a try have suffered with trying this because of one simple reason, and it's all to do with the way they set the wrist. When they get to the very top of their swing, these students of mine, they'll get to the top here, and then what will happen is they'll feel this pressure going down first, feeling like the hands are being pushed down towards the ground, towards this right foot, almost the trail foot, but have the club set like this here, bang on straight parallel to the ground, where the GX Golf Club logo points almost towards the sky or ceiling here at the indoor facility. Well, when we look at that wrist angle there, if I just turn now into the golf ball, just from this point here, what's winning the race of the golf ball? It is that hosel side of the club. So a lot of them were suffering with the shanks. Okay, well, if I try and do this and keep my hands ahead and push the hands through, it's going to make me shank the golf ball. And that's simply because of the way you're setting the wrists in the downswing. If we've got this extension, is what it's called, in this lead wrist, the left wrist of mine, being a right-handed golfer, it's going to severely open up the club face. It's going to encourage the heel side of the club to lead the race to the golf ball, and at worst, hitting the hosels and therefore the shanks. So we've got to learn how we can set those wrists in the downswing in a more reliable position. Pretty much so where we want to see the right palm facing the ground. The GX Golf Club logo here is pretty much facing away from me, or feeling more like it's facing towards the ground, just to exaggerate things. And to do this, we're going to be taking our right hand onto the club. The left hand stays on as normal, but the right hand is going to be placed onto the golf club like this here, where the center of the palm is pushing onto the right hand side of the grip. And what this is going to give you the sensation of doing is when you get to this point in the downswing, you've got to feel like your right hand is keeping this angle here, this set position, this extended position in the right hand to push the club through. So when we get this push of the club through, I just like to keep my right thumb just onto the grip like this here, just to keep things easier. But when we get to this point here, we're pushing the club through. Look what that's doing to the club face. That's getting it back set on this more angular motion, getting that leading edge more parallel to my spine angle, which is what we want. That's going to help square up the face and have the center of that club head leading the race to hit the golf balls. Just a quick shout out to GX Golf. They provide high quality golf clubs for a fraction of the price in comparison to the rest on the market. Using my discount code below, Harry10, you can get yourself a great 10% discount off any bundle packages of 3, 6 or 9 golf clubs. I've been using these for the last couple of months, really impressed with the products, going to be using them for the rest of the season. I'd highly recommend you check them out and see what you think for yourself. The second thing you can do is take a training aid called the Prosendr. Now this is a fantastic training aid, and I've been using this with a lot of my students recently because it helps them set the wrists in the correct position. That setup, we're going to be gripping it like so, but during the downswing, we've got to try and get the right hand, the back of the right hand, to touch the training aid and to hold that set position. Already, what does this do to the hands? It keeps them lovely and ahead of the club face. So when we get onto this angular motion here that I spoke about just before we hit the golf ball, look what that does to the club. Really helps it get on that lovely square position. Then we can push through like so. When we're pushing through, our goal is to try and keep that palm moving towards the target. And look what that helps us do. It keeps that angle. As soon as we let the angle go, look what happens. We get into more of that extended position and it opens up the face. So this training aid just makes it so much easier for people and golfers out there who are struggling to find a feel and understanding of what that should actually feel like. And look what that's doing to my lead arm. It is keeping my lead arm extended. I'm getting this rotation onto the way through. And that's allowing me to push through the shot as opposed to coming out of the shot here and getting way too close on the follow through. Now, doing these two drills are going to really help you get the club set in this position here and pushing through. However, without that beautiful backswing, we're not going to be able to do this. So have a look at this video over here to help you with the backswing first. Get the backswing checkpoints correct before you go and work on this drill. Comment down below to let me know how you get on from watching this. Thanks for watching.